Hello and welcome to Nintendo Agenda. Title of this video is E3 Hopes plus no new Switch plus Zelda's 35th anniversary. So, wow, there's been a lot of videos from a lot of different content creators out there on YouTube, and I don't want to fall under that pit of doing this, and I've already made several videos about the next Switch because I thought that something was going to happen according to Bloomberg, and I think a lot of other people thought that too. And there's lots of discussion just about that topic alone without even talking about the Switch. But I just to get that out of the way right away, I don't think a Switch quote unquote Pro is going to show up before E3. It's basically now E3 is starting tomorrow. We've already had like pre-show stuff and blah blah blah. But official E3 starts tomorrow. And I don't think anything's going to happen, even if a third-party developer, which I don't think that there's very many of them that would have dev kits for the Switch Pro, if that's what you want to call it, gee whiz. The next Switch, I don't think very many of them have it or have the most up-to-date one to where they would show off games. Nintendo usually has NDAs in place, and plus they themselves, and they try to enforce this on the third parties, they don't want games to be shown that are, it's okay if they're still in development, but they don't want them to be running off of a computer or a dev kit. They want them to be running off the actual hardware. Even if they're still in development and they're early and they might look rough, they want it to still be representative of what the hardware is capable of. And it's a big question mark whether Nintendo, yet let alone their third parties and anybody else, knows what the next Switch is going to be capable of completely. So I don't think anything is going to be like a video is going to drop of a game from a third party that is in development for the Switch Pro. They'll probably just show just regular Switch stuff. And even if they were to somehow, like, whoops, this one happens to be 4K trailer or something like that, even then I don't think Nintendo is going to come out and say, yeah, we're making a 4K Switch or blah, blah, blah. It's not going to be like that. I think they want to have their own separate thing where they don't have to share the spotlight with everything else out in E3 world. And I think it'll probably be in July. This is my own personal opinion, my own personal thoughts, like they did with the Switch Lite. And then that was a 2-month window between when they announced it and when it launched. And there was still 2 months after that before the holiday, the end of the year holiday hits. So, plenty of time, not going to piss off a lot of people. It would suck if they were to announce it before the holidays, not have enough during the holidays, and then most people have to wait until after the holidays into the new year to get one, and or they announce it right after the new year and say, hey, you remember all those Switches that you bought for Christmas? Guess what? You got to buy a new one. Now, I don't, that's happened before in the past, but I don't think that they're going to do that with this. And so therefore, I don't think, like I said, I don't think it's going to come before. I don't think it's going to happen during. A 1% chance that Nintendo might do something during their Direct, but they said pretty much the wording of it is very direct in that they say, no, this is going to be exclusively about software that's coming out in this next fiscal year, which, they don't say fiscal year, but they mean 2020 and then early 2022. Maybe there might be some stuff that's later 2022, but I think most of the stuff is going to be 2021 here. So in their Direct that they're going to have on the 15th, which is Tuesday. And so I'm trying to get this video out there to express all of that before this. It's not like a predictions video. It's kind of like a hopes and dreams for E3. And, I kind of wanted it to to happen before E3, so that, yeah, whatever floodgates there were for Switch Pro games, or games that had, Switch Pro capabilities, could be shown off. But E3 is an industry event. It is not a Nintendo event, and I think Nintendo wants to have more control over how they present it, and by making a direct later on, I'm guessing if it's going to launch this year, and like Bloomberg says, and like others have been saying, that they're actually producing these now, and that they might launch September, October, or at least before the year ends, before the holidays. They want to have a short window of time between when they announce it and when it comes out, so that they don't kill current Switch sales. And this E3 is supposed to be about, hey, here's the new games. And that's why when they tweeted their E3 plans, that's what they said. They said games, 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 software. They didn't say hardware. So there's a 1% chance, maybe less, that they lied to throw people for a loop. And that would kind of be crappy for some. Not very many developers. Like I said, I don't think many outside companies have this dev kit for the new Switch. Maybe Square Enix. Probably Capcom, maybe Ubisoft, but I kind of doubt that even. It's probably going to be like Japanese, or just Nintendo's first and second parties, very close third parties, in the homeland in Japan, that would have this. So it would be kind of crappy for them to go throughout all E3. They're the last up before Namco Bandai on Tuesday, and they go, hey, and by the way, we're going to have, a Switch Pro. Or another 1% chance out of 100 of them saying something about Switch Pro before E3 ends, or at the very end of E3, would be if they say, footage in this Nintendo Direct is being shown to you running on Switch hardware. But is that even possible? Could they show footage like that? Is it all going to be 4K trailers? We don't know. See, that's the thing. We don't even know what the Switch Pro would be, or the next Switch. So, and if we don't know and they don't know, or they haven't finalized things, then it would be bad for them to do that too soon. So I think it's soon that it will be announced, if it's coming out this year. If not coming out this year, then it's going to be way, way later. Who knows? We don't know. Nobody knows. But the rumors and the speculation, and a lot of people have been saying for a while now, hey, this is coming before E3, or maybe during E3, or right after E3. I think it'll be after E3, and I think it'll be July. It'll come out of nowhere, just like the Lite did. And if they were to do something at the end of all the trailers for all of the Switch games during their Direct, and then it says at the end, like, kind of like not even like a like they make a big deal out of it. They just like, people put two and two together and realize, man, all these trailers were in 4K or higher resolution, or the games looked better, or blah blah blah. And then they might say at the end, hey, this stuff was actually running on the new hardware, but it'll also run on the current Switch. But I don't really think that they'll do that. I think what they'll do is they'll hold off on announcing some of the games, so that the first time that they're shown will be glorified by the fact that they're on the Pro, if that's how they plan to unveil it. And then they'll re-show the same games that they showed at E3, and also current games that are out on the market now with souped up visuals, if the Switch Pro is capable of doing that. There was that thing that happened recently on the Animal Crossing Twitter, where there was actually a 4K image of Animal Crossing, which you couldn't tell unless you zoom in and look real close, and you see that there's anti-aliasing enabled, and higher resolution, and the image of the from the software running on actual hardware, because that's how Nintendo takes their pictures from this, was 4K. So that's pretty crazy if you can, give your current games higher resolution, either by way of some kind of downloadable patch or by way of, if DLSS is in the new Switch, it automatically does it, or it's something that, can be turned on and off. Who knows? We don't know. Like, there might be a performance mode and there might be a resolution mode, like either higher resolution or better frame rate. Who knows? We don't know. That's how they do the streaming stuff with things like Control and the games that they stream in Japan, like Assassin's Creed and Resident Evil 5. But, or was it 6? No, not 5, 6. I meant to say 7. Sorry about that. Anyways, enough about the Switch Pro. I don't think they're going to show anything before, during, or after E3. I think it'll be in July. And it might be because there's multiple systems being created or multiple pieces of hardware. One of my theories is that, and I'll make another video about this after E3 to, going by what we find out at E3, or if something surprise does happen, then, talk about it then. Or if nothing gets revealed, then, the things that I'm planning for that video is going to be, what I think Nintendo might be doing. Which, that's what Nintendo Agenda is all about. It's about speculation about the future of Nintendo. But I do think that there might be multiple systems or multiple possible pieces of hardware for the current Switch and for a possible next Switch. So maybe that's why there's a lot of confusion, a lot of rumors, a lot of people thought that something was going to happen sooner rather than later, or maybe it's that there is something coming soon, but then there's also something else that's better, that's different, coming later. We don't know. So let me scratch that all off my list. That's the no new Switch at E3. Now, E3 itself, let's just talk about that. There's the 35th anniversary of Zelda. Now, some are saying there's going to be a big hoop-de-maroo about that's going to be the theme of their E3. I don't think that that's going to be the end-all, be-all of their E3. The E3 2019, they certainly started to talk about Mario's 35th, but then, 2020, the dreaded year came, and there was a 35th anniversary near towards the end that they actually made a direct for and talked about things, and that might be the same situation with Zelda 35th. They may be doing their E3 thing, then possibly a Switch Pro announcement in July, and then after Skyward Sword comes out, so as not to kill any hype for Skyward Sword HD on Switch, because obviously that's why they made that one first and they put that one out first, is because they want to get a return on their investment on that, because that was one of the lower selling and least popular Zeldas in recent history, which is kind of saying a lot, because there was a couple of, I don't want to say stinkers, but a couple of Zeldas that it was on a downward trend until Breath of the Wild. So they want to give it its own spotlight and its own time, and then maybe after that, or right before that launches and near the end of July, or is it middle of July? I can't remember. That's when they'll unleash more of the 35th anniversary floodgates. But that's not to say that they won't say stuff about upcoming stuff for the 35th anniversary. They'll probably say, we'll have another direct later this year discussing the 35th anniversary of Zelda, but in the meantime, here's this. I was going to talk about E3, but I guess I'm talking about the 35th anniversary of Zelda right now. So I'm going to talk about the GameStop stuff and this poster that I got the picture of right here. But before I talk about that, the potential for the 35th anniversary is probably not going to be as big as Mario's 35th anniversary, because I think, not that Nintendo's Mario 35th anniversary didn't do well enough for them, it's just, they're still on the store shelves. There's plenty of those Game & Watch 35th anniversary Super Mario Brothers. And it's kind of like, I was thinking, oh, well, they'll do the same thing for Zelda. They'll have a Game & Watch for that? Maybe not, because since that didn't sell, it's not like it's a bad sale. It's just I don't think that it was. I don't think people wanted it as much or know about it as much. So doing a Zelda one, at least to the same degree that they did with the Mario 35th anniversary, 35th anniversary, that was, with the Game & Watch, I don't think it'll happen. There was also a Mario 35, which some people would argue was kind of a bad thing. The game was fun, but then they took it off. They took it off the Nintendo Switch Online after the 35th anniversary celebration was over in March, which to me was kind of, in my opinion, crappy. So if they were to do the same thing for Zelda, whether it be like a Four Swords Nintendo Switch Online, or a Legend of Zelda 35th, or Legend of Zelda 35 online on the Nintendo Switch Online, that might be a little rough. Because then it would only be here till March, and that's the same situation again. Why even do it? But who knows? They might do that. Another possibility for the 35th anniversary of Zelda, at least at E3, is, and this would pertain to, it's still software, but they may not say anything about this. I talked about this in my last video. Well, I tried to talk about it, but the video was too long, and I forgot to mention more about it, because I did mention it in passing. There's rumors going around of a virtual console. Now, I don't think it'll be virtual console in name, but there's certainly a lot of publishers out there who, instead of releasing the games on the Nintendo Switch Online service for basically free, or for the free to the people who pay for the service, not to say that there's bad games on there, but if there was, like, for instance, Zombies Ate My Neighbors and Ghoul Patrol are being sold directly through the eShop. I don't think there's going to be a physical release for that. I wish there was, but these are just basic re-releases, and they might have like some behind-the-scenes footage and developer interviews or something like that. I can't remember the exact, when they launched the announcement trailer for that. I think that was going to be a part of it, which is great. Better than just the games, better than what would have been on the Nintendo Switch Online. They knew that was a good enough game that people would pay for it separately outside of the Nintendo Switch Online. That's sort of like Virtual Console, though. But again, I don't think it'll return by name, and I don't think that it'll return to the degree that it was on the Wii, and then later 3DS and Wii U. I think that they will start selling some of the more, like Nintendo 64, and then possibly if the emulation works like they did for Mario 3D All-Stars, where they had a Nintendo 64 emulator, a GameCube emulator, and a Wii emulator to emulate those 3 different Mario games from 3 different generations, then it's possible that they could do the same and release some of those games separately on the Nintendo Switch Online. But is that a missed opportunity for bringing out a physical cartridge or a physical release like they did with 3D All-Stars? Could there be a 3D All-Stars for 3 different generations, Nintendo 64, GameCube, and Wii, you would have basically Ocarina of Time and Wind Waker and Twilight Princess releasing on a separate cartridge? Would it be the 3D version of Ocarina of Time? What about Majora's Mask 3D, or Majora's Mask in general? A lot of people said that about the Mario Odyssey 2. They brought Mario Odyssey 1 to 3D Collection, but not 2, blah, blah, blah. So is that the same kind of thing? If they're just basic ports of what was already on the Wii U, and then in the case of Ocarina of Time on 3DS, then yeah, I think it's a possibility, but will it be announced at E3? We don't know. They don't want to steal the thunder away from Skyward Sword. they will probably mention Skyward Sword, and they will probably mention new extra added features. 3D Land or 3D World for Wii U of Mario had Bowser's Fury added to it, and some people were like, "Oh, well, that was a reason to double dip." Plus, it's portable. Plus, it's the Switch and blah blah blah. Could they do the same for Skyward Sword? And if they did, they'd probably announce it at E3, since that's in the middle of June, and Skyward Sword comes out in the next month after that. Blah blah blah. So more with Zelda is what else could be during a Zelda 35th. I guess I'm kind of, even if they don't talk about the Zelda 35th too much in the E3, some people say that that's what most of E3 is going to be, and some would say no, they're going to wait until after Skyward Sword comes out. Blah blah blah. I guess I'm just going to get all my 35th anniversary stuff out there. I would like, and this is something that, especially if they end up delaying the sequel to the Breath of the Wild, I would like an Ocarina of Time remake beyond even what they did on the 3DS. Think about the Wii U tech demo. If you don't know what I'm talking about, just type in Legend of Zelda Wii U tech demo, and it showed that the Wii U was way more powerful than the Wii, even though it used basically the same hardware. They just souped it up a little bit. That's a possibility. Well, at least for me, I think it would be a possibility. It's already a game that's already made. They've already had a remake for it before on the 3DS. Maybe it could be its own separate game, and it would be kind of like, oh, this is going to be for the 35th anniversary, and I don't want to say an apology for Breath of the Wild sequel to be delayed into 2022, but there's the possibility that might happen. And then that brings into question, what about the Switch Pro? Isn't it supposed to launch beside the linked new Zelda, or the Breath of the Wild sequel? There's lots of rumors and lots of theories about that. I don't know. I don't know. That's a lot of question marks. I don't think they want to kill Skyward Sword stuff, so I don't think that they're probably gonna talk about Breath of the Wild 2, and they may drop that, it's coming out in 2022, but stay tuned later this year for more footage and for more on the Zelda 35th anniversary, blah blah blah. Will there be a Game & Watch? Probably not. Will there be a 3D collection? Maybe, but they would only say so, or they would probably mainly say so after Skyward Sword launches. Is there a possibility for something like Legend of Zelda 35, or like a Legend of Zelda Maker, or a 4 Swords to download? Who knows? Is there a possibility that Nintendo Switch Online opens up to Nintendo 64 and then later GameCube and Wii games to download? And would those be bought separately, or would those be part of the service? Probably not a part of the service. Or maybe a higher tier of the service where you could either download or do more of those games, or even stream other games, including, just game streaming in general. But moving away from the 30th anniversary or 35th anniversary, this is the picture that's been making its rounds on the internet. And this is real. I've seen it myself. It's a two-sided poster. This is more of a GameStop thing than it is a Nintendo thing. This is going to be a promotion for Tuesday, which is the day of Nintendo's E3 Direct. GameStop is going to have sales for Nintendo-related stuff, and specifically Zelda-related stuff. I've heard things about there might be pre-orders open for Breath of the Wild 2 if they have a date, or there might be pre-orders open for other Zelda-related things or Nintendo-related things. If you buy a Switch, you can get this. If you buy $30 worth of either, I don't know if it's going to be just Nintendo or Zelda-related paraphernalia, or if it's just going to be $30 in general in the store. If you buy $30 worth of stuff, whether you're buying Sony stuff, Microsoft stuff, or whatever, you're going to get this poster. And from the information that I've gathered from this, the poster, again, is not something that really Nintendo did. It's more of a GameStop thing. It reuses art that they've had in previous posters for the 30th anniversary. The art in the background here of the one side of the poster, you can see features characters from all the different Zelda games, including 2D ones, 3D ones, ones that were on DS, ones that were on, 64, ones that were, more recent. And then on this side, they show what is this? Is this for Breath of the Wild? Is it for the sequel? Is there going to be a Wind Waker HD? Is there going to be a Twilight Princess HD? Is it going to be a Back End Together? There is stuff here for Ocarina of Time that I'm pointing at here. Those seem to be the front of this. And then right here also Ocarina of Time. Although this is from the blue Dark Horse hardcover Zelda thing. There was one, the first one was for Hyrule Historia, and then they did one for Arts and Artifacts and stuff like that. I think there was 4 different books. The blue book, I can't remember the name of it, had this art in here, which is supposed to be an amalgamation of Link from Twilight Princess meets Link from Skyward Sword. Although I don't really see the Skyward Sword too much into it. I see more of Ocarina of Time than I even do of Twilight Princess even. But it's probably closest, in my opinion, to a more detailed Ocarina of Time. Sort of in the same style of Twilight Princess, and they say it was supposed to be how Link is represented, kind of like in Smash Brothers, which has supposedly some influence from Skyward Sword, which was the most recent mainline Zelda by the time that the Wii U version of Smash Brothers had come out. To me, it screams Ocarina of Time remake. But that's if this picture has anything to do with whatever Nintendo would announce. I don't know if this is strictly a GameStop thing that they're just doing just for E3, for something special. You've heard about the rumor of, there's going to be a big event next week. There's going to be more stock of PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series, and Switch Pro is going to be pre-orderable, and all this other stuff. There's lots of rumors. But I think they're double staffing because just in general, E3 is going to be a big event, and they're probably going to do a bunch of pre-orders for stuff. And I do think that there will be hardware, not necessarily Nintendo, except for, it might have more Switches available that they're holding off to sell, at least from the information that I've gotten on Tuesday. And then Wednesday is going to be Microsoft, and then I don't know if Thursday is going to be Sony, even though Sony wasn't at E3. I don't know. We don't know. But they know that I know that there was memos out to double staff on Tuesday and Wednesday of next week. And this is part of that. So Zelda out of the way, the Metroid or the GameStop posters out of the way. Let's talk about E3 itself. And I already mentioned Metroid. Getting all the Legend of Zelda stuff out of the way. I talked about an Ocarina of Time possible remake. Not that I have any information on that. I just have a feeling that might be a thing. Either in a part of a collection on the Nintendo Switch Online, or maybe a full-on remake. I think a full-on remake may happen if they end up delaying Switch Pro and or the next Breath of the Wild. It might be like, this will be our holiday Zelda, since it's the 35th anniversary, it's going to be this, blah, blah, blah. But, they could get away with just doing a collection like they did with Mario 3D All-Stars. But we'll see. But going into Nintendo's E3, here's some hopes, some speculation, and, rumors that have been going around. Metroid, it's also its 35th anniversary. But Nintendo has never really super acknowledged Metroid with anything like that. It's always been in the shadow of Zelda because of that, and also just in the shadow of most every other Nintendo game because, Metroid is not as seen as high profile for Nintendo. At this point, I think things like even Fire Emblem have more importance to Nintendo than Metroid. But we'll see. Metroid, I don't think that they'll talk much about Metroid Prime 4. I think Metroid Prime 4 will come after the Switch Pro comes out, if the Switch Pro is coming at all. I have my own theories about what it is. I think they will possibly push it towards VR even, but that's just a theory. There is rumors of a 2D Metroid. Some have said a sequel to the fourth Metroid, Metroid Fusion, Metroid 5. Some have said that they're going to have Metroid Hunter stuff mixed in with it, with Silex and a couple other things. There was doors left wide open on the DS and 3DS Metroid lore out there. Then I've also heard a Super Metroid remake. Now, me personally, there's one theory out there that the next Switch Pro, whatever you want to call it, is coming out this year, but that Zelda is not. So, like with the Switch Lite, they had a 2D Zelda to show it off. I don't know how that really shows it off, but if it is 4K, is 2D a game that you really want to show it off with? Is it going to be 2.5D? Who knows? If it's a remake of Super Metroid, though, I do think that it'll get a lot of people riled up. And like with Zelda, because really Zelda, like I said, was on a downturn up until Breath of the Wild. But Breath of the Wild, it was like a catch-22. Switch sold because of Breath of the Wild. It was a killer app. But Breath of the Wild sold because the Switch was killer hardware at the time. Could this be killer hardware, a Switch Pro, helping to sell a waning, I don't want to say dying, but certainly a lower tier, on its way down Metroid franchise back up like it did with Zelda? And would it be done with a 2D game, or would it be done with a Metroid Prime trilogy? That's another rumor that's going around too, is that there would be a Metroid Prime trilogy, and it's going to be one of those things, well, we don't have Metroid Prime 4 for you, but here's trilogy. But another theory with that is that the trilogy would come out closer to the time of when Metroid Prime 4 would come out. Then another anniversary is Donkey Kong 40th anniversary, and I really do think that this would be something that they would turn into another one of those arcade type. They already have arcade archives, the actual Nintendo arcade version of Donkey Kong available to download on the Switch, and you could even play it, horizontal style on the Switch by turning it, what do they call that? Tate mode. Anyways, that's a thing, but that's the actual arcade game. What if they were to modify that, like they've done with Pac-Man, like they've done with Tetris and the Mario 35, and potentially many other games, and do a Donkey Kong 40? King of Kong. That'd be crazy. But the rumors going around is that there's going to be a Donkey Kong collaboration. Is it going to be retro? Is it going to be somebody else? Some say Bandai Namco. Some say it's going to be 2D. Some have said 3D. We don't know. Something that I don't care about, but seemingly a lot of people care about, is the potential for a Mario plus Rabbids game again, a sequel to that. I'm not going to talk much about that because, again, I don't personally care about that. I know some people love it, and good for them. That might be a possibility for them. That's not something that I'm interested in, though. Shin Megami Tensei 5, finally. This has already been sort of leaked, but there'll probably be a trailer and information about that at the Nintendo Direct. Kirby, there was a Wario survey recently, so maybe Wario. Fire Emblem, there's I think maybe one or two other titles, including kind of like what they did with the Detective Club, but then it might be download only, which I would not like, but you know, the Fire Emblem 30th didn't do very, or it did well enough, but I don't think that it did what they expected, maybe. But there might be another Fire Emblem, and it'll probably be a re-release or a remake of one of the unreleased American, at least to the American audience, games. I'm not familiar enough completely with the entirety of Fire Emblem to give you which one it is, but I know that for certain the BS one was never. They made one on DS, but it was only in Japan. So maybe that's a possibility. Nintendo talked about new IPs. I think that there will be something new shown, and or a resurrected franchise. I would hope for F-Zero, but it could be 1080 snowboarding. It could be, I doubt it, but it could be Wave Race. It could be, hopefully, I would think F-Zero. It could be another ARMS, because that team is available and they're not doing anything now, supposedly. Some have said Mario Odyssey 2. I kind of don't believe that. There might be something Mario, but if this is going to be a Zelda focus, and Mario already had his year, all of, last year, especially if there's Mario versus Rabbids, there's not going to be much room for more Mario there, I don't think, in my opinion, but that's just my opinion. What else have I written down in my notes? With a new IP, it could be Monolith Soft's new game. Now, some people are like, well, they should port over the one game that they haven't ported over to the Switch yet, and then all of the Xenoblade games would be on the Switch, blah, blah, blah. That's a possibility too, but maybe they might get burnout on that. They may be working on patches. If there's a Switch Pro and there's 4K patches, they might be working on patches for the already existing Xenoblade on Switch. So that's something on the side, but that's something that they would mention later on whenever they mention the new Switch. But unknown, question mark. But that is certainly a place where there's room for a new IP. I've heard a rumor. You can't believe these rumors, but Star Tropics, but that's been rumored for like the last probably 10 E3s. Oh, they're going to bring out Star Tropics. We'll see. And then, of course, people talk about Mother and Earthbound. We'll see. Someday in the future, maybe. And I talked about Kirby. I talked about Wario. One of the big things going around, and people have just been clamoring for this, is a new Mario Kart. Now they're going to say, oh, well, the old Mario Kart was just a port of the one from the Wii U. Yes, but Mario Kart is an evergreen title and it's still selling as is. I don't think they need a sequel to Mario Kart on the same system. I know people have their different opinion about that. In my opinion, downloadable content for all of these existing games, but then again, they're moving away from Splatoon 2 to Splatoon 3, so maybe they might release another Mario Kart. And there's rumors going around, oh, it's going to be every Mario. Yeah, there's rumors that it's going to be every Mario Kart mixed together, all of the characters, all of the courses, and then some have said, oh, it's going to be. They're going to add other Nintendo characters to it too, including, I think this would be kind of insulting, but like Captain Falcon and, it's, I think that would be something that's better served as downloadable content for the current Mario Kart that's still selling really well. Why not give it more life, especially if later on there is a Switch Pro and they have other downloadable content, including patches to make the games look a little bit better or run a little bit better. Why not have more content as well? But that's just me. They may be thinking, well, we could just start all over and do a new Mario Kart that's completely different or new or whatever. Maybe it's a Nintendo Kart. Maybe it's not Mario Kart anymore. It'll be like Smash Brothers for Mario Kart. That's one of the rumors going around. With the Wario survey, I would love another Wario Wario Land, but it could be micro games. I think the survey was about a micro games and like how much should something like that cost. Recently, they released Metopia. That was 50. You could argue whether that's too much or not, but most of the games have been 60. Then today I picked up Game Builder Garage, and I thought that was a $60 or 50 at the best title, but it actually released for $30 brand new. So that was kind of surprising. Let me turn on my fan here. That's a little bit loud. So hopefully you can hear me now. My video kind of screwed up in the middle, so I have to keep moving the picture. Otherwise my screen will turn off and then the video will turn off. I wasn't paying attention to that, so sorry about that. Then there's rumors. Now this is far-fetched stuff in my opinion, that xCloud and or Xbox Game Pass is coming to the Switch, and people are saying, well, that'll never happen because Nintendo will never put anything on those services. Why would they allow those services to come to the Switch? That's a third-party service. Nintendo does their own cloud gaming through this other smaller company, especially it's more of a thing in Japan. I forgot the name of the company. But there's options out there like GeForce Now. That's NVIDIA. Could Nintendo do something with that? I think that would make a lot more sense. Although nobody's has done a rumor about that or talked about that. But people just are geeking out about Game Pass, and certainly would bring games that would otherwise probably never come to the Switch. And it would be good for Microsoft because the more platforms that have the service, the better, including rival platforms. I do think that there is a future, especially for Nintendo, for cloud gaming. And I say especially for Nintendo because they're already dabbling in it. There's other companies that could do it for them, including Microsoft. But I just don't think that it'll happen. And if it does, we'll know about it tomorrow because it'll probably be announced by Microsoft before it be announced for Nintendo. Or maybe they are leaving it to Nintendo to announce it. Who knows? It'll probably be, if it were to happen, whether xCloud or Xbox Game Pass, it'll probably be very curated by Nintendo, meaning certain games would come and other games just would not come. Me personally, the only thing that I would care about is if they were to somehow bring some kind of Killer Instinct or the Rare Replay to Switch, but they could do that with a cartridge. They don't need to do that with a streaming service or with something that's downloadable or anything like that. I'd rather have a physical cartridge for something like that. So that is one of the big rumors going around, and I think this is more of a Microsoft rumor than it is a Nintendo rumor. Some people will say like, oh, that's Nintendo begging for Game Pass. No, Nintendo is doing fine without Game Pass. Now, I don't think Game Pass would help sell it, but it would help sell the service for Microsoft, I think. And Microsoft, in my opinion, should be more of a service company anyway. They should be publishing games on as many platforms as possible. They should be making tools to run games on multiple platforms and cross-play, and that's their expertise. Online streaming, online game service, online stuff like that. Hardware, in my opinion, is not their forte, and I know a lot of people will shit all over that comment, and I'm sorry to offend you, but I don't like the way they do their controllers. I don't like the way that they set up their systems. I don't like the hardware. But that's me, and I know I'm in the minority when it comes to a lot of game players, quote unquote, out there. But I think that they would make more money and do a better service to themselves and to consumers and to the industry is if they were to do it that way. But that's I can't tell them how to run their business. Going through all my notes here, I think that's just about everything that I wanted to say before E3 happens. I'm open to there being a lot more surprises, but I'm keeping my expectations low, and not just because the Switch Pro I don't think is going to show up there, but I just, a hope for Breath of the Wild, the sequel to it, would be underground caverns, maybe flying. Maybe they do something with the Loftwing amiibo. I doubt it, but who knows? And not necessarily flying, but maybe sky adventures, and water adventures, because the physics of the game is so great. If they were to leverage that more, you notice like something like the hook shot is still not in Breath of the Wild. Well, if they're doing underground caverns and caves and stuff like that, that would really add to, maybe there's an underworld underneath Hyrule. That'd be cool. You would still have the Breath of the Wild landscape above ground, the field and how huge that was reaching into the sky there. Maybe there's something above Hyrule, and maybe there's something below Hyrule that makes it even bigger, because I think that's one of the nicest things about the game, is that people love the physics of it, and people love the vastness of it, and that you could go anywhere. Well, add that to the swimming, add that to flying, add that to cave dwelling, or not dwelling, but cave, like spelunking and stuff like that. The climbing element, it goes down as well as up. So that's something that I think that they should explore with that. Some rumors are that it's going to be multiplayer. I don't know, that might be a little rough for how big the world is, and for what all it is. I think that'd be a little rough, but we'll see. I feel like I had so much more to say, but I guess I'm just going to wrap it up with that now. When E3 happens, and after E3, I'll give my thoughts on E3, probably on my blogger instead, which is like I've done in the past. And the speculation about the future, maybe I'll do a video about that after E3, but I think it's going to go right back to the next Switch Plus, Switch Pro, new Nintendo Switch, Super Switch, whatever you want to call it. But I think it'll move more towards that in the next video. So happy E3, everybody, and keep your hype levels down, your expectations in check. I think some people blow this kind of stuff out of proportion every year. This is going to be fun, though. I do think that there's going to be surprises, and even if there isn't enough surprises for some people, I will be satisfied. I'll be happy, even if there isn't they never make a Switch Pro. It's not about the hardware; it's about the software. It's about the games, and there is a lot of potential for the current Switch as is, to do a lot of games that I hope come before they start thinking about a next gen. I think generations should be done away with. I think that there should just be new hardware every couple of years, and it still keeps the same platform. But that's my own wish and dream, as opposed to starting all over again and then wondering if it's going to be successful or not, or whatever. But we'll see. Thanks for watching, everybody, and again, happy E3.